going on, Jerome's? Beautiful Thursday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings/Wolves news dump. Sure. So, the Wolves losing last night in overtime in Boston, and there's a couple factors in. Number one, it was considered as a throwaway game, right? So Mike Conley sitting, veteran rest, Gobert, minor hip issue. He sat. So you're down 2 starters. You're on the road against one of the best teams in basketball in their building, and it's the second of a back-to-back, and it's the last game of this 16-game murderer's row that you ended up 9-7, right? So basically, the NFL doesn't really have games like this, but in baseball, definitely. But in basketball, hockey, sometimes there's games where you just take the L, right? But the Wolves didn't take that, man. The Wolves played inspired basketball, and they were tough. They were gritty. I love that their depth got a chance to have some run against a premier opponent. I love that Nah had himself a phenomenal game, and it's just so frustrating, man, because Anthony Edwards is an elite player, and for my money, he's going to be one of the best in the league, but he can't keep making these stupid turnovers. As a Vikings fan, it's so tough. Turnovers and also bad officiating costing a Minnesota sports team a very winnable game. It's so tough, man. It's so tough. But also that offensive foul towards the end of the regulation was the most home cooking Boston Beantown garbage call I've ever seen. It's ridiculous, man. But you think a road team's going to get a call in Boston? Please. But either way, they imploded. They imploded in overtime, and the multiple 3-point leads in overtime. And Naz Reid played himself a hell of a ball game yet again, except that foul like 30 feet from the basket was stupid. But it just sort of is what it is. But they're a young team, too many mental errors, and it's frustrating because it was a game that you're basically giving up on. But the Wolves just didn't quit until the end. But I think that this could potentially be an NBA Finals preview. Wolves in 7. That's all, man. But also, I think the Wolves have to have a home court advantage because you're not going to get calls in Boston. It's so stupid. Anyways, like Pat Riley on Winning Time said, F Boston. F Boston right in the face. That's all. Back to football. So, F the Monday morning quarterback. So the MMQB had 10 of the writers, and they did up an awards thing. So first off, Jordan Addison got snubbed. Ivan Pace Jr. got snubbed. All that, right? But Defensive Player of the Year. So Danielle the real deal Hunter, career high 16.5 sacks, as well as led the NFL in tackles for loss, was the straw that stirred the drink for the Vikings. And really, he was the only consistent defender who could get his own pass rush for the Vikings defense. That was an issue that they should address. Jerzon Newton one time. But you would think that he would get a modicum of respect from writers who supposedly know ball. But I was saying, he's probably not going to win Defensive Player of the Year because Myles Garrett, respect, is having a phenomenal season. Micah Parsons is a name brand. He's having a great year. TJ Watt had a great regular season. Max Crosby's a monster. So, yeah, he's probably going to split some votes, but you would think that he would get maybe a couple first-place votes, at least a couple second- or third-place votes because they did ranked choice voting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But Danielle Hunter had 2 fifth-place votes, 2 of the 10 fifth-place votes. So, those ballots were probably Garrett, Parsons, Watt, Crosby, Danielle, right? Probably what both those ballots were, but the fact that he was left off the ballot for 8 of them is ridiculous and so damn disrespectful, man. But Garrett won with 8 firsts and 2 second place votes. Parsons had 2 firsts, and that was it. And then Watt, Crosby, Hamilton, win place show 3, 4, 5. Well, Hamilton was tied with Roquan, but they probably split a couple votes on that Ravens defense. But respect. Ron Bland with those 17,000 pick sixes is great. Bosa. How did Nick Bosa get on there? I don't know, man. But either way, just massive disrespect. But pay Danielle, keep him in purple long term, and it's just whatever. Someone who was in purple for short term was Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll at 72, if you had to guess what his age was, I don't think you would guess 72. He looks old, except his demeanor, the way that he acts on the sideline, the way that he chews that gum. You're thinking, man, this dude could still get it. But he even though Pete was saying in radio interviews and stuff that he would be back coaching this year, 180. So Pete Carroll is out with the Seahawks, and reported that he could remain as an advisor, but the whole thing is that they're probably moving on to Dan Quinn, bringing him back to Seattle. He was a longtime defensive coordinator in D.C. with the Cowboys, former head coach of the Falcons, won 75% of a Super Bowl. But from Pete's press conference, I don't think that he's done coaching. Like, it seems like he still has that youthful vigor, and I don't know if I don't think an NFL team would take a shot at him. I mean, I guess this would be like a Marv Levy in Buffalo situation where you hire a very old head coach. But could he go back to college? Like, could he go back to UCLA? Prop up, go back to LA and prop up the crosstown school after he had run up the Metro. Well, it's not really crosstown; they're both on the same side. Doesn't matter. But I mean, Pete Carroll could certainly do it. And respect. I mean, Pete Carroll. So first off, back in the day, Vikings DB coach for like 4 or 5 seasons. Worked with Jerry Burns, worked with Bug Grant. He was fantastic. Worked his way up. Coached the Jets, coached the Patriots, as well as, I mean, he founded a dynasty at USC. And he really got things going there for the Trojans. And then he went to Seattle and basically should have won 2 Super Bowls, but won one. Second one, not so much. But for many years, like, Seattle has been very good, and that's a testament to Pete Carroll. Like, he's a defensive-minded guy. He wants to run the football, play good defense, and that's what he does, man. So respect to Pete Carroll. If this is it, hats off. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Pete ain't going to be out of the game this season. Someone who is also potentially getting back in the game is Pretty Ricky Spielman. So, Schefter, go. ESPN reporting with Woj ESPN. Okay. In a sweeping overhaul, Commies owner Josh Harris has hired 2 prominent executives, former Warriors GM Bob Myers and former Vikings GM Rick Spielman, to assist his group in searches for a new head of football operations and coach. Now, is this going to be the spot where, like, Jim tricks Dwight into hiring himself as his own assistant? It's possible. But, I mean, does Rick Spielman scour the globe to find the next VP of football operations, which is the de facto GM, and just be like, who's best for this job? Me. And it's interesting. So Josh Harris, former owner of the Sixers. So I was, as I die, is that you, Rona? Obviously comes from an NBA background, and Bob Myers. So Myers gets a lot of credit for the Dubs, but Jerry West deserves a lot of credit for the Warriors, because before Jerry West got to Golden State, I mean, they were going to go with Monta Ellis versus that Steph Curry scrawny guard guy that we can't get to work with Monta Ellis in the backcourt at the same time? Yeah, we're going to trade him, please. But then Splash Brothers got together, then Draymond came in before he got suspended, then KD got over there. Then Jerry West deserves all that credit, man. But I digress. F. Bob Myers. I don't know, man. Anyways, but it's fun. So Spielman, I believe, was tangentially involved with the Jaguars last offseason. I may be wrong, but Rick, I mean, Spielman was here for a lot of good years, and I mean, he had some questionable picks. He had some home runs too. I mean, drafted Justin friggin' Jefferson, right? So, hats off to Rick Spielman, and I would like to see him get back in the league. Why not? There you go. Also, another old friend potentially back in the league. So Schefter reporting that former Bills DC and Vikings head coach Leslie Frazier will interview for the Chargers vacant head coaching job per league sources. Now, Leslie, a little bit up there in age, but he did have some decent defenses with the Bills before basically being thrown under the bus by McDermott last offseason. But Leslie was head coach here for 3 seasons with the Vikings. Took over as interim head coach in 2010 after Brad Childress got fired. And I always thought that Leslie was a good man, a good leader, certainly a little bit quiet and more reserved, but I mean, the Vikings just didn't have enough talent those 3 years, and they wanted to play the Tampa 2, and you could play the Tampa 2 if you got Warren Sapp and Simeon Rice rushing the passer, getting pressure with 4, and Derek Brooks covering the entire ocean in coverage, and also John Lynch in the back end, as well as Rondé Barber. Like, you could do that. I mean, if you got superstars all over the place. So the Vikings certainly did not. So I've been rooting for Leslie Frazier. I want him to get another chance. And also, it'd be so ironic if he ended up coaching the AFC version of the Vikings. which the Chargers are. So they're the Vikings with better weather. Lastly, so the NFLPA, in another sign that people shouldn't be allowed to vote on anything, but the 2023 NFLPA players all-pro first team. So players voted on this. Now, no Vikings made it. So no Daniil, not even any Andrew DePaula, but and also no Najee Thompson, which we'll get to. But Lamar, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, whatever. Go Patrick Ricard, man. I mean, Juszczyk just gets by on name recognition. Yeah, he's good, but is he elite? Receiver CeeDee and Tyreek, respect. Kelsey, I don't know, man. Like, if Hockenson stayed healthy, Trent Williams, respect. Bitonio, Tyler Smith, apparently tied to left guard. Kelsey, Zach Martin, yes. Lane Johnson, again. If you go by Pro Bowl voting, so you had fan voting, and then you had coaches and players voting. Like, you had guys that weren't even on the fan ballot or in the top 10. All of a sudden, they get voted into the team. And players, like, you're supposed to say that, hey, players know ball. Players buy into legacy and name brand recognition as much as anyone else. But you know why? Because they know their team, they know their division, they know the teams that they play. That's it. That is it. Like, do you think someone on the Vikings is grinding tape? Is like, hey, let's see how the Jets and the Bills are doing this year, even though they don't play in this. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. And then defense, Garrett Crosby, yes. So I love that Max Crosby got in over Parsons. I mean, Parsons had a good year, but Max Crosby's been out of his gourd, man, as well as ahead of TJ. Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle in the game. Respect. Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. I mean, they're still up there. Yes. Respect. Roquan, Fred Werner. Yeah. Deron Bland. All the pick sixes. So all the pick sixes, does that outweigh Sauce Gardner being elite? Does that outweigh? I mean, frankly, even though he's a stupid bear, I mean, Jalen Johnson. Jalen's had a fantastic year, man. Pride of Utah. And PS2, yes. Bates and Hamilton, sure. Nixon, partner Darius Davis, I took one to the house, is great. Then core special teamer, so Reeves Maben and Brandon Schooler. I mean, how is Najee Thompson not making an appearance on this? It's ridiculous. Brandon Aubrey. Hey, did you know that he has a miss and, he was undrafted from Notre Dame? He didn't play at Notre Dame, he played on the soccer team. It's getting to the point of, hey, did you know Antonio Gates played basketball? Yeah, AJ Cole has had a lot of experience punting, especially in the Vikings game. And then Ross Matzik. He can't even hold Andrew DePaula's jock. Get out of here. But again, example 9,572, why people shouldn't be allowed to vote on anything. Anything, man. But that's it. It's general Vikings and some Wolves complaining. It is what it is. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.